Hey guys, I'm back. I was unsure if I was going to have any time today to make this video, but before I decided to do something else, which I was planning to do today, I saw a video that I sort of really enjoyed. Even though it was another one of Daniel Howell's long videos, it was an interesting one. I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but just in case I haven't, I love Daniel Howell's videos. His videos have changed my life. And that's why this video is going to be about Dan. This recent video that he made was another video in sort of like a series that he created called Top Dan Memes of 20-something teen, or 2022 for this time, because his very first one was in 2015, it was in 2016, but after 2015. Yeah, I should have explained it better, because the first one was a really good rhyme one, because it was like Top Dan Memes of 2015. I don't know why I felt like that rhymed. I think it rhymed, I'm not sure. But still, when I saw this most recent one, the Top Dan Memes of 2022, I originally was waiting for yet another very funny video about all the different memes that a lot of you guys or other people have created on the media just to, to be funny with Dan, to take something on his videos and change it up a bit, or use it to sort of make fun of him in a way. But I was lucky enough to see something that I really wanted to see. He mentioned his tour on it, because right now he's on a tour for a live event he is calling We Are All Doomed. Well, We're All Doomed. It's combined with We Are. Sometimes I just say that because it's easier, because sometimes, crazy mouth. Sorry, my mouth goes a little wild and goes weird. Anyway, when I saw this bit, I finally got proof about what happened near the end of the show. Now, I'm not going to spoil the end of the show if any of you guys are planning on seeing it, but something that happened that he mentioned in this video is that he started to open up about his real personal life, and part of it about his YouTubing experience. And when I did see the show, I really felt the connection that I've been waiting to feel when I finally found out about what's been troubling him, since I've always noticed in his videos, it's almost been like there's something that he'd always wanted to say to you guys, but felt he couldn't because he didn't want to be judged. And sometimes I felt like, maybe it was something like that when I would watch his videos, noticing the self-deprecating jokes that I grew to do to myself when I started to go through stuff that he did. I was able to notice when I felt he was really hurting inside, but couldn't say anything, and just made me feel like crap. Like, I knew I wasn't one of those people that would make him feel bad, but I didn't want him to be feeling bad at all. But obviously, like me, since he has had depression almost his whole life, it means there are so many days where he will not feel great. But I sort of want to make a change of that. Partially why I came to YouTube was because he inspired me. He was one of the YouTubers that inspired me, but something about him made me want to make a difference in the world. I want to be able to maybe change some minds. Let some of you know that even when Dan opens up, sometimes I feel like some people may not take them seriously still, or probably not even watch the videos. And I want to let those people know that those people who have bullied him over the internet, you've ruined his self-esteem. You've ruined his life. Thanks to you, he's probably had traumatic experiences about his traumatic past. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this video about me, but I know how that feels. I have had some traumatic experiences as well when people would forget about specific things that I can't deal with thanks to a different school I used to go to. I'm not going to name any names. They're probably not going to see this video anyway. Probably. I don't know. Anyway, I know how he feels because knowing something that he went through when he told us about an experience he went through when I was really young, probably around my age at the time as well. We both went through depression in similar ways, which kind of freaked me out at first when I realized something else happened that also got triggered in a similar way. In a video, Daniel Howell expresses himself in his whole life, letting people know about his depression and anxiety. And he lets his viewers know that he once tried committing suicide. Now his was much more drastic. He did something, like, I don't exactly remember what, but like I remember seeing a picture of him, like, because sometimes he does these visuals in his videos. In the visual he did of his past, I saw his arm in a cast, which means he must have done something that really could have really broken him and definitely probably killed him. But there was a time in my life when I tried such a thing to do. Now, I don't want to scare anyone here, so if you don't want to hear any more, you can just stop watching the video, because I don't want to hurt or scare anyone. I've dealt with doing that, and believe me, my parents hated that. Just so yeah, letting you know. So if you're still watching, meaning that you're someone who can deal with someone opening up about a suicidal experience, I will now let you know what happened. Now, a couple of my friends will know this, and a few girls that might be watching these videos now will know this, because the school I go to, because I know that I can trust you with this now, I go to MLC. And in this school, we go to something called Marshmead in Year 9. In Year 9, you're choosing a term, and that will be the Marshmead term that you go in. And then the other terms, the first one that you don't go to Marshmead will be called Q term. Actually, it's the first two. Q term for a semester. Then you have this other term thing that's like right before you go, and then you go. Now, when I went, because I was one of the students who decided to go, because otherwise I could have done something else, which was being at school for that term. Instead of like being apart from my family, I could have been with my family at night like normal, but go to school for most of the day, I think. I'm pretty sure. It's like something where you do activities, which I did do for a day which you'll figure about that. Yeah, I guess this isn't about Daniel Howell. Sorry. Sorry, Dan, if, you're not going to watch this. At least the start was about Dan. I'm going to go back to Dan at some point, anyway. Very sorry. I feel like I always talk about myself. I am the worst. Anyway, what happened was I did go to Marshmead, obviously. I was excited about it. I packed for like a week. And guess how long I stayed? 2 days. Yeah, and that's being generous because technically I stayed for the first half day that we had, a half day, because most of the day was busing there and walking because we had to stop the bus somewhere because then the rest of the way would be a trail that we would walk, which was like a couple kilometers, I think, maybe 2 or 3. Anyway, once we got there, it would be like already half through the day. We would pretty much just settle into our rooms. That was great. And that was right before my birthday. Yeah. The next day would be a full day that I would have. The full day that I had, which was my birthday. Great day. Mostly. And then the third day was a half day because I would leave like around lunchtime or something that day. Now, the reason that was because on the very first night of it, I had the biggest mental breakdown I ever had in my entire life. Now, for some of you who don't know what it's like to go through a mental breakdown, we usually have some steps that we go through. Like anyone has their own steps that they go through to calm down. My first one is box breathing. Where you breathe in, hold, out, hold. That didn't work, and so I went on to step 2, distraction. Music. I used music from my computer. Obviously, since it was Marshmead, there was nothing else I could do since there was no internet, pretty much. Because, obviously, this was meant to be for mostly handwritten stuff, and there was very little internet, so I wasn't really allowed to use YouTube or anything to be able to, so I just used music, the second best thing I could do. That didn't help. I was listening to songs I probably loved, can't exactly remember, probably most likely because it was at the time I was loving all the songs, maybe that. I couldn't be stopped with what I was going through. I was just not breathing right. I was in a state of where I felt like I was in hell, and I just couldn't live long. I just felt like I wasn't going to live longer than that night. And so after a teacher that was in the room left, and a student that was my friend at the time. I say at the time because now when they look at me, it feels like they look at me weirdly. But actually, they were treating me very kindly the next day. I think it's just because they have other friends, so whatever. Yeah, sorry, I get off track all the time. Anyway, after all that, I ran straight into the bathroom because I took out my headphones, all that stuff, went straight into the bathroom, and I opened the toilet. Obviously, still not the lid, but obviously the normal bit that like, girls use to sit down. Obviously, I wasn't sitting down on the toilet because this wouldn't really be a class conversation if I was to tell you about something like that. Nope. I just knelt down on the floor. Well, by not really, I wasn't even up on my knees. I was just completely down with my legs fully on the ground, with my head over the toilet, and I was using this fist to punch this. Okay, yeah, I probably can't give you a visual, obviously, but I was using this fist to punch my thigh. Yeah, my whole plan was to punch my thigh hard enough and spew up phlegm into the toilet long enough for me to die. It was not the greatest plan. That's why whenever I explain it to people, I say I attempted an attempt to attempt suicide. Because that was literally it. Yeah. And around the time when I got back home, because around that time I was still watching, not just watching, binging Daniel Howell's videos, which still, there are definitely a few Dan and Phil Games videos that I have not seen. I was just watching his videos and I remembered a video that I'd seen, that I hadn't seen at the time, I think. Maybe in the past I'd seen it, but I wanted to watch it again. The video that I mentioned, I can't really remember what it's called, but the one where he opens up about his emotional baggage, about how long he's dealt with depression, and just how hard it's been when he was younger. And still to this day, probably, most likely. And it just made me realize that from the moment that I realized I had depression to the moment I attempted suicide, my life has almost somewhat been like a mirror. It was like I had been a doppelganger, except with a different name, born into the different gender, and way smaller. But I'm still unfit. Well, I mean, somewhat unfit. And because of that, I realized that's why I want to do YouTube. Because, I mean, even though I feel like some of my life and a lot of my life has mirrored his, some of it hasn't, and some of it has been even worse for him, and I don't want him to feel that way anymore. Because all his life he has been saying, oh, you guys, other, stuff about opening up, but then a few videos later he has to open up again, letting people know that they've been treating him wrong again. Opening up about people treating him wrong again for the reason he opened up. And sometimes all the time, I always just watch the video and feel like, I want to change this, but I guess I won't be able to in just one video. But today I thought to myself, why can't I? I mean, I'm definitely going to do future videos about this, but why shouldn't I start? I did originally think that I was going to do a bunch of like sort of calm ones at first before I went straight in the deep end with some of the other topics. I realized, why wait? This is an important issue that I've been wanting to bring up for so long now, because I want to deliver this message to Daniel Howell. I don't know how, and I know he won't see this video, but I want my videos to at least be seen by people who can send the message, who, like me, can send the message to him that we all love him in our own way, because everyone should be appreciated for what they've put up with and how they move on. Because Daniel Howell has dealt with even more than a normal person would. He dealt with a childhood of trauma, came to YouTube. Even in his household, he felt some trauma because he was gay. And, well, in the video that I mentioned, he lets us know about how his family father specifically isn't the greatest with people who are not who are like, who are not straight. Anything else, that it seems that his father would not have been okay with it at the time, at least when he was younger. Because luckily, in that video, he mentions that his family ends up being really okay with it when he sends it over email about being gay. Anyway, it means that, and he also dealt with so much at school when he was younger. He dealt with stuff during university. He dealt with stuff his whole life. And when he came to YouTube, he just dealt with it all over again. And then at times he tried to take drastic measures to make people go off his scent about being gay, and it would just confuse people. It would just make people think, what is happening? And it would just mess things up, and people might have done like really bad things around that time. Like, people might have taken like one of his messages that he sent over stuff like Instagram and stuff like that to throw people off his scent, and they might have been like, what do you mean by this? This isn't gay. You're gay. 'Cause, like, no one should have been doing that, and I hated it. There've been so many videos that I've actually commented on Dan's channel, trying to let him know that I'm with him and I want him to be hurt, and I want him to hear me that I appreciate him, that at least one person is by his side. Because he deserves to be appreciated, but I've heard him say in a few of his videos that he probably doesn't deserve any of the admiration, but it's the opposite, actually. He deserves to be appreciated by his fans and followers, and he deserves the popularity that he's gotten on YouTube. Thanks to him, so many people have finally found themselves. He was part of the reason I was finally looking into who I really was, because my old life had me so restricted to my gender that I thought, oh, I guess I'm always going to be a girl. But he opened my eyes up to new possibilities about the fact that I may not be one. And I mean, in a future video, that'll be when I open up about who I really am, because surprise, surprise, this holidays I found it. I found my real gender, but that'll be a surprise for a later time when I turn 21. So, yeah. And that's only because, for one thing, my parents don't really want me to do anything until I turn 21. I mean, by that I mean gender-wise, obviously, just to make sure that I really want this. Two, because I actually want to wait, because, for one thing, really just in case. And three, because, like a lot of YouTubers do, I am going to buy into the stupid, weird things that they do and build suspense into videos. And to future videos, anyway. I haven't really done this too much, and I know a lot of my videos are going to be kind of bad, so I'm very sorry they are not edited. This is literally me on camera, just videoing me just talk to it, to the screen. The only thing that seems edited is times when I pause it and then I repurpose myself into a different position or something. That's how I was making the first videos, which you know as the failed attempt at a puzzle game experience that is called an ARG. My failed ARG. I should really change the name of it, shouldn't I? From here, behold, a story to be told, to failed. Completely failed ARG. Yeah. I know this video is getting very long, and I literally made fun of Dan making long videos. So, this is karma for me, not bragging. Don't want to brag. Not bragging. Just babbling on about my life and not actually talking about Daniel Howell until, like, specific parts. Yeah, but I still want to make this video about Dan. And so, probably the last thing I want to say about him is that he's my role model. I know I've sort of said that during the video, saying that he's the one who's helped me become a YouTuber, because at first I thought only people who were like 18 and older could be, or whatever, because, yeah. But then I heard about how he started YouTube at 14. That's technically around the age that I created my channel. I just didn't start posting my videos until last year. Yeah, last year. And thus 18 on the Tree was born. And so this is my message to Daniel Howell. Although you might think that sometimes you're just the lowest of the low, you're not. You inspire so many children, and I know you're not watching this right now because, yeah, you're like a fucking celebrity. And do not demonetize this video. I heard in his video that he was saying people are getting demonetized for fucking swearing in their videos, but I don't give a fucking shit. I will swear in my videos. Do not demonetize me. That is this finger. You can just see that right there. Do not demonetize me. Anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know about that, and hopefully get this message to Daniel Howell somehow, in some way, even if it's not this video in general. at least people messaging him about how amazing he is good enough for me. And which, like, because I've tried doing that on my phone, like letting him know over Instagram, recently TikTok, since he recently got it, Facebook, and stuff like that. Obviously, he probably doesn't have any time to see these messages, but I feel like recently, since he's starting to say, since in the end of this video that I watched, not this video, sorry, the video I watched of Daniel Howell today, he mentioned that the next few are probably going to be the last few of his videos on his channel, meaning that means to me that he might have a bit more time and hopefully might be able to see the messages that people sent him. So if he really can, then something I share to all of you is people who know him or people who maybe don't know him but should probably let him know how amazing he is, because he hasn't just inspired me, he's inspired so many young kids about figuring themselves out, letting them know that they're not alone, and really being one of those people who really doesn't give a fuck about life at times. We're all in this together. And he deserves to be part of the people who deserve greatness, which he does. He deserves every bit of greatness he's gotten in his life, and he deserves the respect that some people haven't given him. So, from one YouTuber to another, because to me you're all YouTubers in your own way, we'll each send messages to Dan about how great he is and how he's helped our lives. Because sometimes he doesn't inspire so much. Sometimes he may not be talking about anything that's too meaningful or whatever, but him just being there for us is amazing. Because anyone who will really be there for you, like Dan's been there, is someone who really cares and someone who really wants to make a difference. And that's all we ever want to do, don't we? So, finally, to the end of this video, live life now and try not to die. Bye.